Hello, this is Todd.
Hey, Todd, it's Eric, man. Can you hear me?
Hey, Eric. Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you know what? It sounds pretty good.
Welcome to Season 3 of the FNRad Snowboard Podcast.
Okay, perfect. 1 second, please.
Tala in ett meddelande efter tonen.
Hi, this is Sean. I'm not here right now.
You have reached Mike.
Hi, this is Jim. Leave me a message, and I will call you back as soon as I can.
Hi, you've reached Jeremy Jones.
Yeah, I'm going to call you back in 10. Sorry, dude.
Hey, guys. Before I start the show, a little recap from this week's Mount Baker Legendary Bank Slalom. Congrats to Josh Dirksen, who won the men's pro division, and congratulations to Terrier for winning the switch race. Big thanks to Mount Baker and the Howitt family for putting on another bank slalom, which is, as far as I know, the longest running snowboarding contest, started back in the day by Tom Sims himself. So thanks, Tom. And extra special congratulations to Jason Bazarich for winning the Craig Kelly Thunderbird Award. Couldn't have gone to a better dude. This week's guest comes at the recommendation of last week's guest. He's got one of the coolest jobs on the planet, and I got a hold of him by simply calling the Burton 1-800 number and asking to be put through to his desk, where I left a message, and a few days later, I'm on the phone with Todd Kohlman. So I hit him with a classic FNRad Snowboard Podcast question. Okay, so where were you when you first started snowboarding, and what did you start out on?
Yeah, so I grew up in Wisconsin. It was 1991-92, that winter of 92. I was at a little resort, really cool name, called Little Switzerland. And, so I saw a snowboard my first time. I was skiing and was like, whoa, what is that? And actually, I knew the person that was riding this board. It happened to be a K2. I believe it was a Dan Donnelly. And I was like, next weekend, is there any way I could try it? And she was like, if you bring your boots, you can try it. So I brought some boots to wear, and yeah, I just instantly, fell in love with it. And I just hung up my skis and never went back. And that summer, I ended up buying, because actually the next time I went, the rental was so good. I got to rent a Burton Craig Kelly Air, 1992.
Nice. Sick.
And then I bought one that summer from a shop in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. And, then I was just hooked ever since. That's all I've wanted to do and still kind of want to do.
Did you do any competition type stuff?
No, I never really competed. I've more recently entered like the Mount Baker Bank Slalom and some bank slaloms, but I never competed. I was fortunate and got to go to the 1996 Craig Kelly snowboard camp. And that was really amazing, and got to get to know Kelly Jo really well, Craig's ex-wife, and then ride with riders such as Jason Brown, Noah Brandon, Mike Estes, Matt Goodwell, and that was a really amazing experience.
Had you been other cool places from Wisconsin before you went to Blackhawk?
I perhaps got to go to Colorado once before that as a Thanksgiving, like a bunch of guys jumped in the car and drove out early. But other than that, I never had been anywhere besides Wisconsin. So that was really, really eye-opening, experience. Yeah, for sure.
Big mountains and just a beautiful spot. And lots of cool things to do up at Blackcomb afterwards, right? So there would have been a lot of skateboarding, mountain biking.
Yep. Man, it's beautiful up there.
Yeah, it's awesome. It was still another 6 years or so before you started working at Burton.
Yeah. Every year was just would follow it so much, and I don't know, like that Burton catalog, waiting for it to come in the mail was like, because when I grew up in Wisconsin, all I could really find was like a Trans World and then like the Burton catalog in the mail, and then like Standard Films and MacDog and Doves were like my main kind of source and I would just look at them so much. And just from there, after college, I went to Japan and taught English for a year. I rode a little bit over there. I didn't get to go to Hokkaido, but I rode some cool spots there. And then when I got back, I was like, what do I really want to do with my life? And all I could think about is I just really want to work at Burton and, work with snowboarding. And so I applied to Burton, and it took about a half a year, and I got a seasonal position in customer service. I worked, like on the phones from rider service, dealer service, warranty, spare parts, Proform, and the front desk for like a year and a half. Yeah, so it was really great for 4 years. I worked in customer service and just learned so much about how the company works, and just we had a crew probably of like 10 or so people in rider service and then dealer service. And it's still like that way today. When you call the 1-800 number, you'll get, a crew of guides that will, help answer any questions and whatnot. So I was part of that team. And then I got really lucky. Jake brought up my name to work in archives, and I actually didn't even realize Burton had an archives at the time. I was just like, what? This is insane. And I felt so fortunate and honored. And then now it's been 11 years now. I've been in archives.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So I think most listeners will just have had their mind blown. Like that there is a position at Burton working in archives. Like that sounds like a dream.
It's really a dream come true for me. We owe a lot to, of course, Jake, to have the vision to save all the stuff, and his wife Donna, our CEO, and then Emmett Manning, another coworker who's been with Burton for like 30 years. They've saved all this stuff all these years. It's just it's kind of like a company library, basically. Like, so when we place an order, it's not like every color, but it's one of every style. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's like everything. It's from like socks to like wax to
like
boards.
No other company has anything even close to that, I'd imagine. That's incredible.
And it's so cool. He saved like all magazines and videos, and it's not only just Burton, it's just like snowboarding. It's such an amazing collection that Jake has, and it's just so cool he had the vision to do that.
Yeah, when I talked to Mike Jacoby, Mike had a letter that he sent to Jake back in the day saying like, I was really sad that I broke my Performer Elite. And Jake showed him the letter years later. So I've got it here. I've got it here, dude.
It's amazing. It's so cool, and it really works out so awesome the departments use it all the time. Like right now they're dialing in 2020, which is just crazy because we're in 18 and 19's all done, and they're talking about 2020, and it's just an amazing resource to have to inspiration, and just as history has been growing, it works out really great to share our history with exhibits and different things like that.
Yeah, it's kind of nice to have a true archived history as opposed to just the word of mouth that most companies have, right? Because you're talking about, since 77. So this is the 40th year of Burton, the company.
Yep. Yeah.
So how could he possibly remember all this stuff?
He does have a really good memory, though, too.
Yeah.
Like crazy good. It's awesome. It's really, really impressive.
Yeah, that seems to be a character trait of some of the bigger business owners that I've met. So what's the history of the archive, staff?
Yeah, so for majority of the years, Emmett Manning, he ran the store, like our main store at our headquarters here, and then he would also like put the product away in archives, check it in, and organize it. And there was a time where Emmett transitioned into sales, and he's still in sales now. And then Ryan Clary and Max Holzman, they were working the summer in archives, and then my friend Chip Bleakney and I worked in there for a summer with Ryan, and then Chip went on to bindings, and Ryan had his full-time gig, and eventually it just grew into like a position, archivist, just, you know, a full-time year-round position with everything from, you know, different history projects to helping with like social media, like a Throwback Thursday, to public tours. I do just kind of different history projects and whatnot. So there's definitely, and keeping the warehouse organized is, I mean, it's definitely a full-time job. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff and stuff. So.
That's amazing. So did I hear you say public tours? Is there like a tour schedule, like people?
Yeah.
Can...
So Monday through Friday, 1 o'clock, and then also Monday, Thursday, and Friday at 3 o'clock as well. I do public tours, and what that entails is we go through our Craig Kelly prototype facility, and it's about an hour to an hour and a half tour. Usually ends up being an hour and a half because we just take our time and like we go through the museum, and then we go through our 3D printer world with Doyle, our mad scientist, and then we go through our machine shop, we go through our soft goods lab, hard goods lab, the parts department, layup, wet grind, graphics, just like show how the boards are made, show how we prototype from bindings to helmets to goggle parts and to like, you know, the jacket or pant, different ideas we'll sew together, and, you know, how we try to pretty much break everything we make as well in the hard goods lab, because that's our process, to create it, destroy it, and make it better and better, and just shoot for always above industry standards. So I feel really fortunate to like just show people around there, and it's kind of like, I mean, the doors, we just open it wide open. We don't really hold back. I mean, we don't show like 2020, but we don't really like hold back, you know. It's really open door. So it's really fun and really a cool thing.
That's
it's
amazing.
Free.
Hey, that's incredible. So have you ever had people from other companies kind of want to do, you ever have to catch someone and go like, hey, wait a minute, you should not be touring our facility? That's a conflict of interest.
Well, one time, just kind of surprised me, one person, but it was super cool. You know, we're if someone would want to come, we could, you know, set up ahead of time, and, you know, obviously we're not gonna like show them like the future stuff we're working on, but I would be down to show them around and show them what we're about, you know. And it's
there really isn't anybody else on your level as far as in the snowboard industry goes anyway.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think our R&D facility is probably one of the biggest. It's 10,000 square foot facility, and it's just cool to show, you know, when people come through, and even people that maybe have never even snowboarded before, and they see a board made by hand, because every board's, you know, made by hand, and it's like, I never get tired of watching it. It's just so damn cool to see them lay up each layer and the amount of, you know, kind of blood, sweat, tears that goes into every board. It's a special and soulful place, you know. And I know cool. Like Craig would be proud. Doyle and JG and the guys that knew Craig really well, they'll say, you know, Craig would probably have just had his own like little work zone there, and he would have been just doing his own thing and making all these different things come to life. Yeah. So it's a special place.
That's sure. Very cool. What year did they name it in Craig's honor, or was it always called?
It's 2011 is when we opened that particular exact spot, which allowed us to expand R&D. We used to have it across town, and we moved it into the building right next door. So it's nice. We no longer have to drive like 10-15 minutes. So now, since 2011, it's just you walk across the parking lot and can bring the stuff to life.
That's amazing. So how giant is this compound? It sounds like it's just a big zone.
So we have about 400 people in Burlington working, and then we have the two buildings. One side is more the offices with like marketing, customer service, sales, hard goods, soft goods, finance, HR, legal, everyone, IT, and then the other side is like Craig's with the more hands-on, building the boards, doing the prototyping, sewing the jackets together, prototype ideas and beanies, gloves, just
graphic
bags,
designers, everybody over there.
Yeah.
That's so dope.
Yep, exactly. Yeah.
So when I was thinking of archives, I'm so small-minded, and I'm thinking of the boards, right? Like, and I'm like going, okay, well, there's only, I don't know how many boards Burton would have made. I guess if you go SKUs and all sizes and all colors, it's got to be thousands at this point. Is that possible?
Yeah, it's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot. I don't remember the number offhand. We definitely have a lot of boards.
So, let's go through a bit of a history of the stuff. The BB1, which is so valuable that people have tried to make counterfeits and sell them on the market. Yeah. Is that what the name entails? Like
BB1, Burton, Board 1, Burton Backhill. Yeah, BB2, Burton, Board 2, the backyard. So those started summer of 1979. Those first 2 years are kind of prototyping and then production. And for 2 years, first was the painted ones, 79, and then 80 was the just kind of the all wood ones. And then from there, 81 is when the boards got wider. And that's when we started T-shirts and hats as well. Yeah, and then, it's cool, like bindings. Jake had them on prototypes right away in the beginning, so he had bindings right away.
Amazing.
And then soft goods, like jackets and pants, started in 84.
Yep.
It's pretty cool. Like, we still have, like, his notebooks and his drawings and his journals and, just, like, it's cool. He'll, like, write things. He'll be like, sew this cuff in these pants, not for a ski boot, but for a snowboard boot. So, making it out of necessity, really. There wasn't, there were ski jackets and pants, but
totally.
There wasn't too much going on for snowboard specific gear. And, so making that in 84 and, of course, bindings, like high back is 84 for us. And
and is that a fixed high back? Were those were like a one piece?
Yeah, they were those white ones with the red at the base.
Yeah,
the white plastic. Yeah, there, and then that was almost like a baseless binding actually. And then 85, it was like a base plate full high back together.
Was that the 5-hole pattern at that point?
Yeah.
Right off the bat, like the 5 holes, it was like, okay, we're going to do this. Because that was a standard hole pattern by 89, like industry-wide. You'd probably put a Burton hole pattern on there because that's what's going to fit. Most bindings kind of conform to that 5-hole pattern at that point. Mm-hmm. And other companies would try and do their own bindings, but, if you wanted... A 5-hole board was basically industry standard at that time.
Yeah.
So that 5-hole pattern started in 84, did you say? Holy smokes.
Let's see. I think it would be more like 85, I guess.
Yeah.
Because we still had like the rubber more bindings that were adjustable, regular, goofy, but the I was more like winter of 85, I think, would be more of the 5-hole pattern was really starting.
Cool.
Previous to that, it was like more of the neoprene, like kind of nautical inspiration. Tuck your foot into the binding. And 83 is when we had that heel strap come around the back.
Yeah.
Right before the high back, the heel strap. And that's when a lot of the rope was dropping too, because a lot of the early ones had the rope would help you initiate your turns with the side fins. And then, so as the heel strap, ropes are dropping, then high back, 85, 5-hole patterns, Performer Elite. That was the first one that's kind of more like modern construction, you know, metal edges, P-Tex base for us.
Do you know what was the
yeah.
spark for that with Jake? Was there a moment where he toured a ski factory, or was it just kind of industry pressure was like, we need to make a sandwich construction board as opposed to like a piece of plywood? Or was he working on prototypes for years? It'd be interesting.
I mean, I think, you know, like that would be, you know, a great question for Jake, but I know that he went over there with the family and they were in Austria and actually ended up living over there for a little bit. And they found the factory. They found it in 84. And that's, you know, where over half our boards are made still today. And
same factory. That's
amazing. Yeah. There's this crazy, awesome story about Jake finding, you know, looking for a factory, and in the middle of the night, knocked on one factory door, and the owner had to wake up his daughter to come down and translate. And I think it was like some crazy snowstorm, and like they worked it out, and it's still the same family, you know, still same operation. It's today.
That's incredible.
So, so we've been doing that since 84.
That's a wonderful story. Like, I think when I think of Burton, the idea that Jake owns it makes me feel good inside. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, it's not some company that was like, all right, we can make a bunch of money off snowboarding. It was a guy who was like, I think I could make a life of selling snowboards. And then he did. Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, he's still very, very much involved with different new ideas and product feedback. And Donna, his wife, you know, our CEO, and they both live out in Stowe, which is about just under an hour away from the office. So we see them, you know, on the weekly basis. And, you know, they're both out there riding. Jake still tries to shoot for like 100 days a year. It's just so cool. Yeah, that's incredible.
Just the passion is, I don't know. It feels, and it sounds cheesy, but it's true. It feels like a family. You know, it just really does there. It's just a special place.
That's so dope. So the boards really change.
Performer comes out in 83, but then the Performer Elite comes out in 85, which is, you know, more modern construction. And then the Cruiser in 86, which was a great board. And then 88, pretty big one was the Air. I mean, real big one. I mean, Air first kicktail, you know, freestyle starting to happen more and more. And then Craig coming over to Burton with the Mystery Air.
There is a lot of talk about Burton really crushing it in the race aspect of it, because Vermont is such a hardcore ski race state, right? So like like in those early days, it was kind of like East Coast racers and then West Coast freestyle. So yeah, Craig coming from the West Coast and joining the company. Also, I have a feeling like Jake wasn't really focused on like the California, you know, skateboard team style of company. He was just like working on his products. You know, some guys were racing on them, and most of the team riders were like his buddies who worked in the factory or just guys who were around or close and were doing well on the race circuit. Whereas when Craig came over, it changed. I may be off on that one.
No, I think in general, you know, that's what, you know, you hear a lot of times. I think, you know, also though, like, you know, like Mark Heingeiner, and they still did the freestyle as well. I think you're correct, you know, what you say there. It's not like Burton was anti-freestyle though.
No,
you know, I mean,
there just was like this, the hub of the skateboarding industry was California. Right. There was a bit of an eclecticness to Tom's focus that didn't include, but did at some point include making the best boards. They're like, yeah, let's make the best boards. But there was a lot more focus on the riders, obviously from the team that they put together. Tom would go everywhere. I can't even tell you how many guys have told me, Tom Sims gave me my first board. He saw me snowboarding, and he gave me the board off his feet. He went back to his car and got a new board. You know what I mean? He just was cool. I'm going to go out there and get talent. And I think that comes from being in that California lifestyle where you're looking for those great skateboarders and that next big break with that cool kid that's going to be, your next Tom Sims or your next Stacy Peralta. And it feels like Jake was over on the other side going like, okay, well, we can't ship boards if we don't make production, and we need to make production by September because we need to get the boards there by November. Whereas Tom was just going like, ooh, this kid rips. I need to get him on my team. Oh, what about boards? I don't know. Geez, can't we order them in October? From an outsider's perspective, it sounds like, and people say it and boil it down to like, Jake was just business. He knew about business. And Tom was a little more like long blonde hair and really caring about cool, which when you look back on those pre-86 years, Tom definitely had the cool factor. And it wasn't until Craig came over to Burton that the image of Burton really blew up into that cool zone.
Yeah, and guys like Brushy. And, Jacoby was on the team. And,
Keith
and then
Wallace.
soon to be Keith Wallace.
You see that guy in contest, he's just a cool looking dude, man. Like, the archive footage of the Burton team, like Burton Chill, is like...
Yeah, Chill is...
What a tour de force.
All time.
Yeah. That team is like unbelievable. Yeah. After that, it's just nonstop. What's the next pro model after Craig's? Who gets the second pro model?
That's Brushy.
Brush, yeah. Okay.
But, you could argue that Peter Bauer and Gene Nerva, the PJ, was a pro model. Yeah. But freestyle side is Brushy. Yep. And then, so 93 Brushy with the Trout, and then Terrier, 94 with the wooden sword.
Nice.
Yeah.
Killer.
Yeah. And then Rippy.
Rippy was the next guy in that list.
Oh, actually... I'm sorry, because of the late model. Well, it's the same time. So production 96 Rippy, and then late model is Gucci. Yeah. So it's Rippy Gucci then, Oh yeah, but I want to make sure I say Shannon Dunn had the 96 Dolphin 44. Yeah. So Shannon's 96 with Rippy. Victoria Jalouse, Cara Beth Burnside, then comes Johan.
And those are, again, just the team is so stacked at that point. That's a tipping point, cool. Really.
When you look at the opening page of the catalog of riders, and it's like full page long. It's so cool.
Yeah, that is that's my era. I started in 89. And then
that's awesome.
By 93, I'm out west. And, Burton's total domination of the sport happened in those years, 93 to 96 kind of thing. That would have been right about when they went to 2 years ahead as far as designing stuff. I remember that was mind-blowing in 95, 96. It didn't make any sense.
Oh, yeah. I know. I still can't believe it, how it works today.
Yeah. So like, it's tough as a rep. I've seen the reps once they see the next year's stuff. You guys must have to hide it from them to keep them on this year's and keep them hyped on what they're selling.
Yeah, it's hard once you see the future stuff. yeah, that's all you can think of.
I know. I can't believe you're talking about the future like that. It's insane. So, when does Burton first introduce a step in? Is that around 96, 95, 96?
Yeah, I think it's around 96, 97, right in there. I mean, there was step in, so to speak, prior through like racing side, like with the hard boots, like stepping in. But as far as like what you're thinking, the freestyle, about about 96, 97, right in there.
That sure stopped abruptly, hey?
I think the problem was always that it really didn't feel like your normal setup. You know, you were compromising your ride, your comfort, for convenience, and that was the main goals of Step-On coming out is, comfort and convenience, of course, still, but having it ride like your normal setup, pretty much. You don't have like a metal plate under your foot in the boots. You don't have it's pretty much your normal boot. It's just got the cleat on the back and the backstay, but in general, they're pretty much your normal boot.
Yeah, my buddy Steve, the rep out here, he's been rocking them all year. The boots look really good.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got all the way to Johan's Pro Model. At that point, how many Pro Models come out that's the 90, was that the 97 season?
98 is Johan.
98 is Johan. By 99, how many professional models is Burton making?
99, let's see. So, Rippy, you could almost say the Balance series is kind of a pro model, but that's kind of arguable. I mean, it's definitely Terrier series,
Yes.
So,
yeah.
The Balance was happening. Let's see. Johan, Victoria, I think, had the Freedom, I think, still.
Yeah.
I believe 99 was the Element, Shannon Dunn's.
Yeah.
Right before the Feel Good, which was 2000. And
that seems like a smart way to do
it.
To name the series something like, like the Ballads or even the Custom.
Yeah, it started to transition into to series. Yeah. The Balance, the Custom, the Feel Good, stuff like that.
Does Burton still produce a race board at this point, like nowadays?
No, we don't.
When did that phase out? What would the last race board? Would that have been
the last one? Was, I believe, in 2004. It was a Japan only called the R17 Addicted.
Right.
So yeah, but in general, it was those late 90s where it really phased out. I would say right around
post 98 Olympics, but also just it's like, are we going to be into racing, or are we, if you had to have a full race line on top of everything else, it's so many more SKUs, it's so much more research and development for what? How many people are you servicing with those,
Yeah, I mean, it's still just like when Craig, was saying freestyle, and the riders are the people that are in the driver's seat of the company, it's rider driven,
Yep.
We don't make race boards because, the demand, the riders aren't asking for it. You know?
Do you see the team riders in there working with the engineers designing the boards?
Yep. I mean, I see, a couple weeks ago, Terrier was through. That might have been actually a month now. Time's going fast, but and then let's see. Danny's always through. Mickle, pretty much everyone at least comes through at least once a year, and they meet, and they also have rider tables where everyone goes to Jake's house. And so it's not only just swinging through the office once a year. They actually get them all together as a group, and they have rider round tables where they go through the entire line and make changes, come up with new ideas, all that. And of course, there's that open dialogue always through Skype, or I see Doyle and JG Skyping with Terrier all the time, and so it's kind of a constant evolution of feedback happening. And it really started with Craig, I mean, and that's still, feedback is what is the key, it's what keeps us going in the right direction.
So rad. Yeah, you mentioned the notebook thing, having Jake's notebooks.
Yeah.
Mike Ranquit talked about that back way in the early days. He'd have made some weird modification on his boot or his binding or whatever, and you'd see Jake, and Jake would be like, "What is that for?" And he'd say it, and then he'd see Jake take out his book and write it down. He'd be like, "Wait a minute, wait." But he attributed that attention to, like, not just thinking like, "Oh, hey, that's a good idea. I'll remember that." Like knowing that you need to write the thing down. Like that's a really, really good lesson for anyone that's listening to it that's got a business that depends on good ideas.
Yeah, I know, like, Jake still uses note cards and whatnot. I heard him once say in an interview that he almost doesn't trust someone that writes the stuff down, So you got to make sure I have my note card if I go see him.
That's amazing. Yeah, so how fun has it been to work there over the years? What have been some of the highlights?
My gosh. It's I mean, it's just amazing to bring my dog to work on a daily basis, being able to get a season pass for free, be able to ride a lot, and being able to have some flexibility with that, the ride and then work late, get your work done. It's work hard, play hard. It's still a trip just to be Thanksgiving. Jake hands out the pies. You could go down and get your Thanksgiving pie from Jake, and one by one, and just the fall bash is pretty epic. Going to Jake and Donna's house and being able to bring a guest. I mean, you'll be like standing in their kitchen and you'll be like, should I be here? Is this okay? Like, it's just so awesome. That's how down to earth they are. They're just invite everyone into their house, and it's just the type of people they are. They're just really down to earth and modest. It's really a special place to work. It's not corporate at all. It's the farthest from. It's like and in the summer we got the bowl, the mini too, so it's great. We can go skate at lunchtime, or if you need a little break during the day, and you have to come visit. Really, it's a special place.
I'm going to. Season 3 of the FNRad Snowboarding Podcast is supported by the Boardroom Snowboard Shop, a Vancouver-based retailer that kicks ass at selling all things snowboarding. You can save 5% off all sale items by using the offer code FNRAD5 at checkout when you shop at boardroomshop.com. Support also comes from Wired Snowboards, makers of fine handcrafted snowboards right here in beautiful Vancouver, British Columbia. Rob Dow's been designing boards since '91, so he knows his shit. He's created 3 shapes that showcase his talent for designing boards, and they all ride amazingly. Wired snowboards are made from the best materials, and if you're feeling like having a one-of-a-kind board, you can customize your graphics, shapes, and materials even. Buy a quality handmade board and save 10% off at checkout with offer code FNRAD. Now back to the show, where TK and I dig into what it's like to meet Jake Carpenter, the man behind Burton Snowboards.
It's cool when you meet him. He's just, hey, did you ride today? Like, how was the turns? How's your dog doing? It's a big company, but it sure doesn't feel like that.
How could you start a snowboard business and not think about snowboarding?
You know how it is it's the greatest icebreaker in the world. You ride with someone and you're like, you feel like you've known them, for like 10 years. You're like, I don't know what it is, but there's something amazing about riding, and well, you know what I'm trying to say.
I hear you, dude.
Just that bond, Yeah.
Yeah, it's easy to make a really good friend on the chairlift.
Yeah.
People often talk about that, how the brotherhood
Yeah.
of snowboarding was like, and some people miss it, you know what I mean? Like, oh, it used to be, you see another snowboarder at a resort, and you were instant friends. But that's never gone away. Go on a trip at any point, go on a trip and go ride in a park somewhere, and people will talk to you, and you know what I mean? Like, and it's not
still
just on the
alive,
hill.
for sure.
Yeah, you ride up the chairlift, and you're like, oh, we're looking for a place to stay, and they're like, oh, cool, come stay at my place.
It's a special culture.
Well, I think that we've got a great episode there, dude. That was a lot of fun talking
Sweet.
to you. And,
Thanks. I really enjoyed talking to you too, Eric. It's an honor. Thank you for asking me. Seriously. I mean it. It's cool.
Oh, that's super cool to hear that, man. And yeah, for sure, I'm going to come and visit you guys at some point, and I'll see you on that
Do
tour.
it, man. Do it.
Yeah.
Big thanks to Todd Kohlman for interviewing with me. FNRad shoutouts this week to Bass, Rankwit, Tom Bird, Rob Morrow, JG, Brian Hartman, Russell Winfield, Travis, and Mark from the Boardroom Snowboard Shop. It was rad to see you guys down at the bank slalom. I'm off to Montreal next week to visit my daughter at university for reading week. Obviously, you like snowboarding podcasts. You're listening right to the end of this one. So I'm going to recommend the Looking Sideways podcast. This week's guest was David Benedict. And I got to tell you, it's one of my favorite snowboarding interviews I've ever heard. David sounds like such a fucking passionate snowboarder. Even though the format's almost exactly the same as our podcast, there's room for a zillion of us. So go check it out. And then be sure to come back next week for another episode of the FNRad Snowboarding Podcast, brought to you by Bike Room Productions.
That's the first thing we got to do. We got to snowboard together.
That's it, dude. For sure, Todd. Well, thanks again, man.